Alright guys, and welcome. This is GP, and I'm going to be doing a slightly different video than what I normally do. So, this video is going to be on Zeta Gundam vs. Gundam. This is going to be the next playthrough that we do after Federation vs. Gundam gets fully uploaded. So, don't worry, I'm just going to do a little arcade run right now, and we'll come back to it. But what I want to do is have a discussion, a dialogue on this one, a little bit more free-flowing. Not so much talking about the game, but just sort of going through the subject that I want to talk about today. I'm doing this for a couple reasons. Number one, I want to improve the commentary. I want to have an opportunity to get my thoughts together, finish a whole line of thinking and dialogue prior to coming out and just saying one story that leads to another story that leads to another one, and you know, circling back around like 5 minutes later. So the goal is to provide better commentary. Additionally, I also want to just try a different style and see if people like it, and you know, if it's good for me. I am excited to try it out though. So I have a topic that I have in mind for today, and what I'd like to do is talk about fear. I want to talk about fear in a couple different terms. I want to talk about fear as a limiting belief, my own personal experiences with fear, and I also want to talk about
Quattro Bajeena, ready to go.
How that impacts my life and how it can impact your life. So,
we've infiltrated Green Noah 1. Keep the enemy away from Allied mobile suits.
So, fear. I mean, what is fear? Fear is a natural human reaction. Well, to preface this, fear is healthy. So, I'm just going to start off by saying that you need fear in your life in order for you to make appropriate judgment decisions. The only time fear really becomes a problem is when you allow that fear to overcome your judgment or to dominate your judgment and therefore dictate everything that you do in life or what you do in life. And that's how you can get fear as a limiting belief. Or I should say that is how fear becomes a limit on you. Something that's meant to protect you is actually stopping you from living the life that you want to live. So fear in that way is it's important for me to reflect on life, to experience and get as much out of life as possible, because you only live once. So to me, it's one of the reasons why it's very important for me. So
you're almost there. Don't get in my way.
I think as you're going through life, there's a couple different things that happen where, you know, your fear can come into a factor. Well, there's more than a couple, but there's two that I'm going to focus on for the purposes of this discussion. So one is, you know, immediate decisions, impulse decisions. Somebody comes around the corner and is, you know, holding a hatchet, getting ready to stab you, or something happens that's out of the blue or unexpected, an impulse. And in that moment, acting on your fear or acting on your instinct to protect yourself might not be a bad thing. Let me give you a somewhat more peaceful example of what I'm trying to get at here. So I remember when I was in Hawaii, one of the things we were able to do is go down to Waikiki Beach, which is an awesome place, and we were able to go on a booze cruise for like $30. So you go on a cruise, and the whole deal with it is you get to just kind of go and hang out, and these guys will take care of you. You can drink as much as you want on the boat, pretty much unlimited. You walk up to there on the beach, and you know, there you go. And you know, you're having a good time drinking and all that, having fun. So, in any case, so we're out on this booze cruise, and they pull off. You know, Hawaii's an island, obviously, and we're in the middle of the ocean. And they say, hey, we're out here. We're gonna stop for a minute. Anybody who wants to get out, feel free to get out and enjoy the ocean if you want to. So I was with a bunch of guys. I'm in the Navy, a bunch of young cats, and you know, everybody kind of thought it was cool at the moment, but there's also that element of, wait, I don't know, that could be pretty dangerous. So some people in the boat with us were like, nah, it's too risky. And some other people were like, you know what, I'm gonna go out there, just see what it's like. I've never been in the middle of the ocean. Look at, you know, I want to experience it. So it's kind of like a risk versus reward type deal. In that case, the risk was, hey, I've been drinking, I'm gonna get out in the middle of the water. These guys aren't exactly certified lifeguards. You know, something could happen, something could grab me. You know,
I guess we'll have to see.
And I don't want something bad to happen while I'm just out trying to have a good time. The other side of it was, hey, if you do go out and try this, you'll do something that you've never done before. So it was a risk versus reward. So in any case, you go out and you give it a shot. Or I went out and I decided to go do it. And I had a good time out there. I saw like this huge tuna, but I understood the perspective of those who chose not to, because it was an impulse decision. It was like, it worked out in that situation, but it could have not worked out, you know, for a variety of reasons. Like maybe there's a shark around or something, whatever the chances of that happening are. But in any case, get out of here. In any case, I was able to go out there and do it that time. But that's an example of an impulse decision, right? There's no real right or wrong answer. If I hadn't experienced it, okay, oh well, I'm not going to change my life in a significant fashion.
The old generation can't build the new era. We're almost there.
So, the other example is when you're not an impulse. So, it's a feeling that you've had for a long time, something that you've wanted to do for a while.
Come back.
An example would mean, you know, maybe you want to talk to girls, maybe you want to ride a motorcycle, maybe you want to do X, Y, or Z in your life, and it's something that you thought about, you've rationalized it, you've logically discussed it with yourself, and you're like, I really want to do this for X or Y reason, but something's holding you back. It could be the people around you, it could be your own, like, I'm just not sure.
An investor always asks for the impossible.
I think at that point is where you have to give yourself an opportunity to make a decision without fear. Like, take fear out of the equation for a minute and be like, okay, if I disregard the, you know, what could possibly happen to me, or etc., the rejection or injuries, you know, would I still go through with this? Am I still attracted to this at all? And when you answer yes, or when you feel, you know, it's hard for people to think like in those terms, but if you do have an answer that's positive, or you still feel like, man, I still want to try this out, you should try it out.
You're almost there. You're slow. What are you doing? This is not good. The old generation can't build the new era. It's coming. Don't get caught. You're almost there. Good news. Our course is won.
In any case, so for example, if you wanted to do something for a long time and you haven't, don't let fear stop you from doing it. If you want to go talk to that girl, talk to that girl. If you get rejected,
I get it.
That's the worst that's going to happen, is a no. And that sounds terrifying when you look at it, but don't think about it. Just go do it. Go try it. I mean, for me personally, in my experience, when I've gone and just gone to try it, 99% of the time works out. And maybe that's an unrealistic expectation, but really, it has never worked out in such a way where I'm like, you know what, nah, trying to go for that whole fear deal, or, you know, trying that risk out, it really wasn't worth it. I really regret my decision to even try this. Even if the answer was negative or not what I expected. More often than not, I feel relief, given the fact that it's like, hey, I went out and tried it. I remember, you know, from my own personal story, that when I was in college, I remember meeting my at the time girl, and who's now my wife. But I had a problem talking to girls. I mean, it wasn't so bad to the point where I couldn't talk to anybody, but at the same time, it was like, when it came to people I actually cared about or things like that, I was like, oh man, I attach a lot of value to this. When it was somebody I didn't care about, like in the club or something, I'd just, you know, go up, do whatever, act like a fool. I didn't give a damn. But if it's somebody I feel like, oh, this might have a future with this person, then it's like I suddenly turn into like a blithering idiot, like afraid to make any move, afraid to text, afraid to do anything.
Doesn't work all the time. The old generation can't build the new era. I'll get you.
Anyway, so I remember being scared, but I was like, you know what? Whenever I get into a serious like relationship, it seems like what happens is I just climb up, wind up in the friend zone or something somehow, because I've maneuvered myself in, you know, using my mouthpiece, but then I'm too scared to say, hey, what's happening? So this time I just went for it, and the response I got wasn't exactly like overwhelmingly positive. I think she told me about her dog actually, but it wasn't a flat out rejection, and afterwards I felt great. I was like, man, I guess we'll have to see. That's what I'm talking about. You know, it worked out. I was so nervous. I remember just being so nervous before I did it. Another time I remember I was really scared was I went to the Navy, and when you're in the Navy, when you're in the military in general, there's just something about being in the military. It's like kind of being in a if you've ever been a part of a sports group or an organization or an online group or something like that, it's kind of like there's a whole world that is separate from the rest of the world that you're a part of. And when you're doing that, get out of here. When you're sensing a pressure. In any case, sorry about that silence for a bit, concentrating on the game. But in any case, when I was in the military, there's definitely like walls that get built up in your mind about how are you going to exist without the military. It's not really intentional. It's just part of the process when you're in that world that's been crafted around, and they're good at it too. And they're not necessarily all intended to keep people in, but a lot of it is geared towards keeping their young sailors in and young, you know, military personnel, because they're relatively cheap compared to older guys, and they can use you. Plus, they've already trained you once, so there's a lot of people that are in, especially seniors, who sort of paint this whole picture that what are you going to do when you're out? You know, there's a security question when you're in, even though the job can be sometimes very dangerous, but you know that you're always going to get paid on time. You're always going to get paid on the first and 15th. You're always going to have a place to live. You're always going to have food. Like, no matter how bad your spending is, no matter what you do, there's always going to be basic necessities available to you. You can always stay on a barracks or a base. If you have a family, you'll have money for your rent to be paid. A lot of times it's base housing, they take it completely out of your hands. They're just, hey, here's the money you get, you pay the money, there you go, it's done. This is not good. So, in a way, it's sort of like having another parent, and that can be good for some people and not good for others. But in any case, when you get out of that, there's like this whole feeling, at least for me, about how, what am I going to do? I'm going to be relying on my own skills and abilities. It's pretty much impossible to get fired unless you do something completely, heinous like DUI or something like that. It doesn't really matter how you perform. So when you let go of that, it's like, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to work? Where am I going to live? There's all these questions, especially if you have a family or something like that.
We're withdrawing. All mobile suits, don't fall behind.
That really puts a lot of pressure down on what you're doing.
Enemy action in access airspace.
Depending on, it's basically, what I'm saying is that it is a difficult process to go through because you're going into the unknown from what you have known. And there's no guaranteed paycheck or lifestyle on the other end of that. For some people, and that's important to note, is that not everybody experiences it the same way. But in my case, that was how I felt. Because I'm definitely a somewhat risk-averse person.
Over there? Take that. Good move. You're too slow. Good move.
In any case,
good move.
In any case, as I was going through it, I would say definitely that dealing with that is, it provokes fear. Well, that was a long way to get to where I was trying to go, but it gives you your fear response. So I was scared to get out, but I knew that I needed to get out. So when I actually did make the decision, now I'm working at a great job with people that I really like, and you know, everything's not 100% perfect, but I would say overall things are great relative to what they were. And I just feel like if I had not taken that leap, I wouldn't have this opportunity to be working where I'm working, to be working with a group of people that I really like, to be back home in the area that I want to be at, to be able to come home every day.
Mission accomplished. Please return.
So
We're withdrawing. All mobile suits, don't fall behind.
anyway, I just think that it's a huge deal. So
We've landed on Axis. Destroy the enemy mobile suits.
I recover, wrong one, whatever. And the things in life that you really want are on the other side of fear. Riding a motorcycle was the same way
Good.
for me.
All
As I
hands,
do
stay
ride,
alert.
and I enjoy it. But honestly, my wife was not happy with it. Thought that it was risky, and my cousin, I guess the throttle got stuck open on his ride, and he was in the hospital. And for a minute, I was like, "No, this is too risky. I shouldn't do it." Even though hundreds of, thousands of people do it, but I'm just gonna, something bad might happen to me.
This is not good.
New machine sighted. It's closing.
So
Hey, brother.
anyway, as I was going through that time in my life, I felt like it was risky, and I needed to avoid the bike. But ultimately, I wound up going and getting the motorcycle, and it was awesome. I've had so many great experiences on a motorcycle. It's like sometimes riding is like therapy. You're just out there and you're just concentrating on nothing but the road, and you're having a great time. It's like peace in a way. Some people get it from fishing or other things, but for me, it was a peace that I never would have found, and an experience I never would have had if I had allowed the fear to dictate what I was going to do with my life. So really, that's the thrust of what I wanted to get out. It's just that.
Not yet. This isn't done yet.
Don't let fear. Don't allow fear to dictate how you live your life, because there's no benefit from it really. Go out, take chances, give it a shot, do your best, and there's really nothing more to it than that. You won't get the girl if you don't try, and
What is this pressure?
We're not gonna last much longer.
you're also not going to experience things the way that you could experience them.
Mission accomplished.
I think it was Will Smith who said that, actually, like the best things in life are on the other side of fear. And normally every time I take the risk and take the leap, and I do calculate it, has worked out well.
Mission accomplished. Please return.
I'm returning.
And that's just how it's gone. So
We're attacking the enemy inside the
in
colony
any case,
base.
I really wanted
Please
to
destroy the enemy forces.
try it out, get that out, and see how doing a different kind of playthrough was going to work out. And it's kind of different. It's interesting to do
All
it this
hands,
way.
stay alert.
But yeah, I'm glad you guys were able to watch and stick around. I hope you enjoyed it, maybe got something out of it. If you have suggestions on how I can improve these kind of videos, if you like these kind of videos, feel free to let me know in the comments. Drop a like or a dislike, whatever is most appropriate for the situation will not offend. Well, I guess it's appropriate. Don't be afraid of continuing. But I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. And we'll come back. We'll be back with more Zeta Gundam. Finish this puppy off. See you next time, guys.